Good evening and good evening and good evening, everyone. It's your girl, RenaeThaDiva, with Let's Talk About It, a weekly podcast where we come to you and we go over things that are going on in our cities, in our states, in our country, and worldwide, even sometimes. So, again, I am your host, RenaeThaDiva. I am coming to you live from the Legacy Entertainment Studio, which is virtual right now. But I want to give a shout out to Arlinda Lindsay. She is a psychotherapist, but she also has inspirational books and she has products that give inspiration. So I'm wearing one of her teas tonight. So I may be dressed a little bit casual for me, but I like this tea. It's called Faith Inspired Entrepreneur. So, Arlinda, if you are watching, please post your information in the comments for me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me go live over here on TikTok because I forgot to hit the button again. These are live broadcasts, of course. Tonight, we will not have a special guest, but we do have a full lineup of guests coming in the weeks to come. So make sure you're staying tuned. So let me again say that my name is RenaeThaDiva. You are on Let's Talk About It, a weekly podcast where we do talk about the happenings going on in my community, your community, and in our states and around the world. So let's get to it, shall we? Let's show. Nationwide unemployment rates are at the highest they have been since October of 2021. Some analysts believe that the unemployment rates are affected by people not wanting to go back into the office to work and and actually prefer working at home. It actually freed up a lot of people, especially people that have small children, people that suffer from illnesses, to be able to still work, but work from home and maintain the salaries. There have been spikes, however, in COVID. COVID is still out there. I think it's one of those things, and I'm almost certain that they have proven it scientifically. This is one of these things that will never go away. The vaccines that we were forced to take at one point that was supposed to cure the virus, yeah, guess what? It didn't cure it because it keeps changing, it keeps straining. So those who are suffering from this are people that are in like commercial real estate. We have a lot of businesses that are actually having to close because of the workforce not being available here in Indiana or Indianapolis in particular, in some of our outskirts. I know we have a lot of construction going on, and that's also affecting a lot of businesses. We have seen record numbers of businesses going out of business this year, post-pandemic. So just keep everyone in your prayers. Be kind when you're going out and shopping and talking with people, please. Thank you. U.S. stock, specifically NASDAQ and S&P 500, have plunged to notable stockholders selling a major portion of their stocks in such companies such as Apple, Google, and several others, just to name a few. It was sparked last week when Japan's stock market recorded record sales and losses. It's also said that these changes are coming from interest rate hikes and are accredited to recovery from the pandemic. I don't know how true that is. I think it has more to do with some other decisions that have been made, but I will not force my political opinion on you. Former President Trump is blaming the current administration for the inflation, of course, though he would take credit for any wins that the economy showed. Hurricane Debbie did hit land fall here in Florida, is where it actually hit first, there on Monday, which was yesterday. Meteorologists are expecting that there will be record high levels of water, flooding all along the East Coast as it moves along. Also there in the Gulf. I know some people that are there in the Atlanta and the Alabama areas that I am in contact with. They're a little bit worried. So again, prayers are going out to all of you. Please, if you don't have to stay there, try to seek a different area to be in while these storms are going on. Speaking of our former president, Donald Trump, he has stated that he does not want to actually debate with presidential candidate and Vice President Ms. Kamala Harris, but he says if he does, he wants to set the location of the event of the debate. They had it scheduled for ABC, if I'm not mistaken. which is Miss Harris is very much ready for it. I think a lot of his hesitation is that he actually is going to court here on next week. So we'll see how that goes. She did, Vice President Kamala Harris and actually presidential candidate did announce her running mate today, as a matter of fact, and they hit the campaign trails blazing. His name is Tim Walz. He is currently the governor there in Minnesota. So he has a great backing coming along. I know that's one of those states that the votes can swing between red and blue. So good luck. Now, in some sadder news, Andrew Brown Jr. is the latest victim of police brutality. He was unalived in his vehicle in his driveway in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, recently. There were a total of 10 officers they were saying that were involved in this incident. Of those 10 officers, the police department has recently released the video cam for just one of those officers, and he was actually reported to be one of the further ones back. The 20-second video that they showed is very graphic. I cannot express enough how I feel for his family. They were saying that in the video, it is very evident that his hands were on the steering wheel and no weapon was found in his car. The police were going to his home to serve him a warrant. I'm not quite sure what that warrant was for, but it did not deserve him to be unalive, whatever it was. With that also being said, now there's going to be some deeper investigations. 2 of the police officers that were involved have already resigned. 7 of them have been placed on administrative leave at this time, pending the investigation. It is sparking nationwide outrage. Again, it's just something that we never want to get used to. To get used to it is to be disheartened, to be cold, to be callous. No one deserves to lose their life like that. He was shot more than umpteen million times. I'm sorry. He was shot several times, okay? They were saying that he was shot in his back, in his arms, and in his head, which was the fatal shot. On to other news. I can't talk today. I'm sorry. I'm excited. But Caitlyn Jenner, formerly known as Bruce Jenner, is running for governor there in California. There is a big debate about this. Don't know that she actually has much support, especially from 3 of her daughters. They were saying that the debates between the family members is coming because Caitlyn's views on some of the policies that Kim and some of the other sisters in particular have taken a stance on were social issues, such as criminal justice reform. So we'll see how that plays out. It's hard enough to run for something like that, like a public office, but not to have the support of your family can be truly different, I'm sure. So just taking a few minutes. If you are not doing so, make sure you're liking, sharing, and following RenaeThaDiva. That's RenaeThaDiva on all social medias, as well as Legacy Entertainment Studios on all social media. Both of those entities, me and the studio, have our own YouTube channels as well. On my YouTube channel, you'll see some of my old modeling pictures as well as current things that I've done is going forward. Okay, so make sure you're liking, sharing, following. Those of you on TikTok, make sure you're liking, hit like on the screen. I appreciate the gifts and thank you. Let's go into sports. So we have been just enamored with our Olympics there in Paris. The USA teams have been doing phenomenal. We have set records for winning gold, silver, and bronze. And I am just saying congratulations to all of the winners. Congratulations to all those who participated, whether you won or not, because it takes true discipline to be able to even get to the point where you're in the Olympics. So congratulations. Now, let's talk about Mr. Snoop Dogg. Him and Martha Stewart have been hanging out, of course, there at the Olympics. Snoop has participated in several different events, including doing some commentating there. So we're proud of Snoop for doing that. He is getting paid handsomely, of course. But, the focus has been on him and Martha hanging out. And they truly have a friendship. I think a lot of people didn't realize that their friendship was truly the way it is. until here recently. Though they had a show together before when she first got out of being incarcerated. I just love their energy. How about that? So the preseason NFL games are starting next week. Go Colts. The Colts game actually is on August the 11th, which is the day before my birthday. They actually play against the Denver Broncos. So we are wishing the Colts the best of luck in this season. Let's go to the Super Bowl. Let's do it, guys. So check your local listings for your favorite team and their kickoff schedule. Now, in entertainment, the family of Chadwick Boseman has come forth again, and it's not in a negative way. So before I go further, please know that it's not in a negative way. They actually were defending the Oscars in this case because they were saying that, a lot of people are outraged that in the Oscars, when they took place, the build-up to the Oscars was, showing Chadwick in some of his last roles, some movies that he was up for an Oscar in, yet he didn't win the Oscar. So that outraged some people. His family did speak up and say, even when Chadwick was alive, he didn't really put much merit into those type of awards because he's been shysted. That's the word I'm going to use for it today. In these type of awards before. So his thing was more focused on being an artist, being an actor, and his impact that he had on his community and his people. The Indiana State Fair ends on the 18th with Miss Yolanda Adams. If you did not catch it, I did come live for a couple different videos where I was actually there at the fair this past Sunday with my family, some of my family members, and we got to enjoy Miss Gladys Knight. Gladys. All I can say is you are still a diva queen. I love you. So she came out with her full band and ensemble and her musicians and her singers. And I think actually some of her background singers are her children, which is awesome. I think that would be great just to be able to work with, your parents like that if she's in the entertainment industry. So I'm telling my kids, come on. No. But she did a wonderful job. She put on an excellent concert. It was a great event. The Indiana State Fair is actually one of the largest fairs, they say, in the U.S. The fair has actually made it this year where they have $5 bundles. So once you pay to get into the fair, you do have to pay for parking. Side note, you do have to pay for parking. But once you pay to get into the fair, everything else is free except for food and drink, of course. But you can play games and do rides. They have bands that you can purchase for that. Make sure you go. The Block Party series, and I'm still trying to find out exactly who the promoters are of this, but they are doing a wonderful job here in Indianapolis. There's a series called The Block Party, where they actually go into different historic neighborhoods. They are hosting block party events where they're having vendors come out, food trucks. They're focusing on the restaurants that are in that historic area, trying to bring more business. So they are really doing a great job bringing out people, for one, in a peaceful manner, and also to support businesses. Because again, everyone is kind of suffering right now in this economy. To top off entertainment and sports news, Deadpool and Wolverine has topped the box office in its second weekend at about $824 million globally. So they are setting records with that. I know I'm corny. I'm a great Marvel fan. And I am actually going to say also congratulations to Mr. Wesley Snipes. He is actually one of the longest running superheroes in the Marvel series. He brought back his Blade character in the movie Deadpool and Wolverine. So kudos to Mr. Wesley Snipes as well for that. That is again going to wrap up our sports and news. Let me go ahead and just give our commercial break and say that make sure you are liking, sharing, and following RenaeThaDiva and Legacy Entertainment Studios. Let's Talk About It is a live podcast that comes on every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. So make sure you're again tuning in, liking, sharing, and following. Thank you for those who are watching on TikTok. Hi, y'all. Y'all get kind of behind the scenes look, a little bit of a different view. I am on StreamYard, so I'm actually broadcasting also to Facebook, Instagram, and the YouTube channels. Make sure you're liking, sharing, and following, and subscribing. If you have a show idea, or if you would like to get information about being a show's sponsor, please email us at legacyentstudios@gmail.com. We'll be happy to send you over our sponsorship package if you're interested in that, and we'll be happy to entertain your comments, thoughts, and concerns. You also can send your comments here on the live broadcast. I will try to answer them as I'm online. If I can't answer them while I'm online, then I definitely will get back to you after the show is over. Okay? Let's talk about this week's topic. This is a topic that is kind of near and dear to my heart because I love children. Youth has been my ministry, my passion. Children are going back to school here in Indianapolis anyway, or in Indiana this week. Some other states have gone back already. Some other states are going back next week. I know that this is going to be a trying time for those, especially on the East Coast, dealing with the weather and things of that nature. Please be mindful of your children and their behaviors. The reason why I say that is this. When the children are at school and away from the parents, they are experiencing all different kinds of backgrounds, races, creeds, colors, cultures, and beliefs. It may not necessarily be what you are teaching your children at home, but guess what? They're being exposed to these things. You want to also make sure that your children are putting out their positive things into the atmosphere. Bullying has been at an all-time high in school. We have had babies, young children, age 10, age 9, trying to and or committing suicide, becoming unalive, and it's just not worth it. Talk to your children about bullying. Talk to them about why that is not acceptable. Talk to them about why that is not right. What I can say is a Gen Xer, as people call it. I just call myself seasoned. I'm not old, I'm seasoned. But what I say is this. People are definitely being raised differently. I think some of the older generations had different coping skills because we had no choice, especially like with my mom, my grandmom, my great grandmom. They experienced different things than I even experienced coming up in school. Kids are taught to be mean, most likely. They're taught to be ignorant, for lack of a better way of saying it. And when I mean ignorant, I don't mean by book smart. I mean by their actions towards others. Make sure you're talking to your kids. Keep them involved in activities in the community. Now, the sad part about it is there's a lot of schools, I know at least here, and I'm sure in your states, they are being affected as well. A lot of school programs, especially the after-school programs, have been deleted or lessened because of economy, lack of school budgets. You have the ability to help with that. Become involved in your school boards. Become involved in the councils that make these budgets out each year for the schools. Become a member of your PTAs. Become active with your local mayors. Become active with your local government. Schools are so important to our futures. I would much rather see your child know a mathematics problem than how to twerk. I would much rather see your child be kind versus being a bully. I hope I'm not the only one that shares that thought. Don't get me wrong, with everything going on, especially with police brutality, I understand that people have to defend themselves. That's different. What I'm saying is, don't necessarily make it where your child is being outright disrespectful to their classmates, their teachers, their subordinates, for lack of a better way of saying it, teachers' aides, your bus drivers. These people are all under pressure, and they deal with our kids every day. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Teachers and educators are very underpaid. The average starting salary here in the U.S. for teachers, at least in Indianapolis, I can say, or Indiana, I can say, is under $45,000 per year. When you pale that in comparison to, and don't get me wrong, I'm a big NFL fan. Those men, women that are involved in those type of sports or in sports period are also working and putting their lives on the line for the sake of our entertainment. Don't get me wrong when I say this. Teachers need to be paid more. Educators need to be paid more, period. They are shaping the future of our children, and they are a big part of how our future will be. It's plain reality. You can agree, you can disagree. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. Again, these are just my opinions. They are not to be forced upon you. What I will say is this: vote, vote, vote. If you have not heard of Project 2025, this project has some astronomical effects on every last American citizen. It does. I won't, again, force my political opinion on you. What I will do is encourage you to vote. I don't care who you vote for whomever you want to vote for, but be informed on why you're voting for that person. Don't vote for the person just because they're white or they're black or they're a man or they're a woman. Vote for them for what they will do for our country. Okay, I'm off my soapbox now. So again, this has been your girl, RenaeThaDiva. I hope you have enjoyed today's segment. Next week, we will be live with Miss Charlene Smith of Breaking the Mold, and I am just excited to have her come aboard. If you have not heard her and her testimony, that's what I'll call it, she has an amazing one, and she is doing some amazing work in the community. So I will have her live on next week, on next Tuesday at 7:30, here on the same channels, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, on both channels. Thank you again for joining. This has been your girl, RenaeThaDiva, your host of Let's Talk About It. So let's see you next week, and we'll talk about it again, okay? Thank you. Bye. Be blessed.